What's up, family? UTT here. I'm gonna make this video today about U.S. immigration problems and other countries having immigration problems. That's what this one is gonna be about. I was tuned into a creator the other day, and he covered this topic, and he's right. This isn't the only country that has immigration problems. I did a little homework. He stressed on guys doing their homework, so I followed his lead, decided to do some homework. And that's what we all got to do. There's no point in waiting for the next man to give you the info on things that are taking place globally. You might as well do your own homework. So that's what I got.
I did some sightseeing, met local family, cook, invite me in. Transpired before my night began. Space Dolce Vita, some spots I might be in. Yeah, avoid night crawlers and the stragglers. Got scope pole, they drug and robbing travelers. Price the girl dopamine for life.
When immigration comes up on the nightly news in the United States, the spotlight almost always lands on the southern border. Yet the forces pushing and pulling people across frontiers are unfolding everywhere, from the rocky beaches of northern France to the bustling streets of Bogota, from Johannesburg's townships to Tokyo's factories. Let's zoom out. We'll tour 4 regions: Europe, the Americas, Africa and the Middle East, and the Asia Pacific, to see how each is grappling with its own immigration challenges, what makes those struggles unique, and why understanding them matters for anyone who cares about people on the move. Europe, the continent of contradictions. Picture the tiny Italian island of Lampedusa. Within eyesight of Africa, it has become the Mediterranean's front door. Early this year, more than 15,000 people arrived by boat in just 4 months, overrunning shelters that had been declared under control only weeks earlier. Italian officials plead with Brussels for help, while locals set up impromptu soup kitchens on the pier. Hop north to the English Channel. Small inflatable boats slip away from the French coast at dawn, heading for Dover's white cliffs. The United Kingdom and France blame one another. French police attempt push-offs, mere yards from shore, moves that rescue charities liken to maritime ping-pong. London, meanwhile, is still pursuing its headline-grabbing plan to fly asylum seekers to Rwanda, even after Britain's Supreme Court ruled it unlawful last year. Further inland, Germany remains Europe's top destination for protection seekers, yet Berlin has quietly frozen most Syrian asylum cases pending extra security checks, a step echoed by Austria, the Netherlands, and several other EU states. Human rights lawyers say blanket suspensions violate both EU law and the European Convention on Human Rights, setting the stage for courtroom showdowns. Here's the paradox. Europe talks tough on deterrence, but its ageing workforce desperately needs migrants. Eastern members like Poland lobby for intensive labour visas. Southern states like Spain ask, if we shoulder the rescues, why won't the North share the workers? With a new EU pact on migration scheduled to phase in over the next few years, the real battle is becoming less about fences and more about who carries which slice of the humanitarian and economic burden. The Americas, one hemisphere, many currents. Canada once styled itself as a model humanitarian refuge. Today, it faces a record-shattering backlog of roughly 280,000 refugee cases. A bill introduced this June would automatically deny hearings to anyone waiting longer than a year and make it easier to revoke status later. Civil rights advocates warn Canada may be trading its welcome brand for speed over justice, an echo of US fast-track policies that Ottawa once criticised. Slide south to Mexico, the hemisphere's newest gatekeeper. In January, 2,000 migrants.
All right. So we have Canada with 280,000 cases of refugees. We have the Lampedusa, Italian island, 15,000 folks coming by boat. We have factories in Tokyo. And we have a new UA pact that's coming in about a couple of years. So that's what I'm gathering from everything from that first session that I just listened to with you guys. And so there you see there's some issues going on all over.
The ironic twist is that Europe's aging economies crave workers. Poland campaigns for fast-track visas to staff factories. Spain begs for agricultural crews to pick strawberries. Demographic charts tilt downward, yet political rhetoric tilts toward deterrence. That tension between economic need and electoral fear defines much of Europe's migration puzzle. Hop the Atlantic to Canada, a country that likes to picture itself as the kinder, gentler North American alternative. But kindness runs into capacity limits too. File cabinets at Canada's Immigration Board now bulge with roughly 280,000 unresolved refugee claims, the largest backlog in its history. A bill introduced in June threatens to deny a hearing altogether if a claimant has waited more than a year. Civil rights groups warn that Canada's humanitarian halo could slip if due process shortcuts replace thorough review. For would-be refugees in Toronto's shelter hotels, the fear is not deportation tomorrow, but endless limbo. No work permit, no school place, no pathway forward. Slide south to Mexico, where migration has become a tug of war. Early this year, a caravan of 2,000 people, Haitians, Salvadorians, Venezuelans, even a few Russian dissidents, marched out of Tapachula, chanting Libertad as they headed north. Mexico's asylum agency, COMAR, is so overstretched that some applicants sleep on sidewalks just to keep their place in line. US policies change almost monthly, bouncing between tougher asylum bars and new humanitarian parole programs. Each tweak jolts Mexican border cities. Shelters fill, then empty, then fill again. Increasingly, migrants who intended the United States as a final stop end up settling in Mexico by default. They look for jobs in construction or cleaning, learn Spanish on the fly, and hope that northbound rules will someday shift in their favor. Continue south to Colombia, cradle of the biggest displacement crisis in the Western Hemisphere. Nearly 3 million Venezuelans now reside there, roughly 1 in every 15 people on Colombian streets. Bogotá's temporary protection status, valid for 10 years, is among the most generous programs on earth. Yet generosity without funding frays at the edges. Clinics near the Venezuela border operate in the red after treating uninsured patients. Rural schools triple class sizes to squeeze in new children. Election season speeches blame Venezuelans.
Now, was anyone aware that there's 3 million Venezuelans currently in Colombia? In Bogotá being so nice, there's a temporary protection status for 10 years. So just do the math.
Cross the Atlantic again to South Africa, where migration and politics mix like dynamite. Johannesburg's crowded townships host Zimbabwean street vendors and Mozambican laborers who paint houses by day and huddle in tin shacks by night. In last May's national election, campaign trucks blasted slogans like "Put South Africans First." Xenophobic riots forced nearly 3,000 migrants to flee their homes in 2024 alone. The government's fix has been to tighten paperwork, fewer new asylum appointments, tougher renewal rules, and more police raids on informal businesses. But human rights attorneys argue that shrinking legal doors only widens illegal ones and inflames street resentment when frustrated migrants take any job they can get, legal or not. Head northeast to the gleaming skyscrapers of the Persian Gulf. Saudi Arabia plans megaprojects, a futuristic city in the desert, a Red Sea tourist corridor, and needs armies of laborers to build them. Most arrive under the kafala sponsorship system, which links a worker's legal stay to one employer. Abuse stories are grimly predictable. passports confiscated, salaries withheld, exit visas denied. International pressure spikes whenever a global event looms. Think of Qatar ahead of the 2022 World Cup. Reforms trickle out, but for many migrants, the difference between reform on paper and relief in real life remains painfully wide. Fly east to Japan, where the immigration narrative flips. Instead of too many newcomers, Japan worries about too few. Convenience stores close overnight because nobody will take the graveyard shift. Nursing homes recruit robots for routine chores because elderly residents outnumber caregivers. To plug gaps, Tokyo is scrapping its much criticized technical intern trainee program, replacing it with a pathway that lets workers change employers and, eventually, apply for permanent residence. That is a quiet revolution in a country long known for its cultural homogeneity. Yet skeptics point out that legal status alone won't guarantee integration. Language classes, housing access, and anti-discrimination laws still lag. Farther south, Australia boasts that it ended offshore detention, closing camps on the Micronesian island of Nauru and Papua New Guinea's Manus Island. But 32 men remain marooned in Papua New Guinea, technically free, yet unable to enter Australia, barred from PNG work permits, and unwanted by any resettlement country. United Nations rulings insist Canberra still owes them protection. Lawsuits now seek compensation for unlawful detention and mental health harm. Legal ghosts haunting Australia's self-declared fresh start. Draw back for a wide-angle view, and 5 lessons snap into focus.
Japan doesn't have enough workers. The Saudis are taking advantage of the situation by forcing people to do things and taking their passports. And man, I'm telling you, man, South Africa migrants are fleeing their homes because natives are